Picture this: a Viking warrior or a Sami hunter standing in the heart of a snowstorm. The firewood is gone, the night is long, and the cold is merciless. In the Middle Ages, winter wasn't just uncomfortable, it was the sharp edge between survival and death. Most people today think firewood was the only answer, but our ancestors' field-tested survivors had other ways, smarter ways, methods so effective they could keep a family warm through the longest night, even when the logs had burned to ash. Tonight, we'll uncover 7 heating hacks that beat firewood, ranked from the simplest and most practical to the height of medieval engineering. These aren't fairy tales, they're ancient techniques recorded in Norse sagas, Sami traditions, and European chronicles. From animal heat to hot stones to the mighty masonry heater, each hack is a window into how real people survived the dead of winter. So I ask you, if your woodpile runs out tonight, will you freeze or survive as your ancestors once did? Number 7, animal body heat, or what some survivalists today call the living furnace. For thousands of years, people across the North learned this simple truth: the warmth of another living being can mean the difference between life and death. In medieval Scandinavia, peasants often shared their longhouses, not only with family, but with sheep-goats, even cattle. Historical records from 13th century Norway describe families and animals wintering together under one smoky roof, conserving every drop of heat. Among the Sami reindeer herders of Lapland, sleeping alongside animals was not a matter of comfort, it was survival. And native tribes of the Great Plains would sometimes keep dogs inside their teepees during brutal storms. Here's the science behind it. Most mammals keep a body temperature around 101 to 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Bring a dog or a sheep into a confined shelter, and you've just added a natural heater. Stack several bodies together, and you've created what is essentially a living furnace. In fact, modern field tests show that a single dog in a small tent can raise the inside temperature by 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. That is often the line between shivering all night and actually getting rest. But let's be clear, this ancient technique comes with rules. 1. Make sure your shelter is ventilated. Warmth is useless if oxygen runs low. 2. Stay clean. A sick or parasite-ridden animal can create more danger than comfort. And 3. Respect the bond. These animals were partners in survival, not tools. Our ancestors knew that. We should too. So here's your checklist. Ensure proper airflow in the shelter. Maintain hygiene, don't bring in sick animals. Use only in safe, controlled conditions. This method is ancient, it is practical, and it is field-tested across centuries. Now I'll ask you, have you ever spent a night in the cold with only a dog for warmth? Share your story. The circle learns from every voice. Hack number 6. Heated stones, also called bedrock warmers. For centuries, Norse settlers and native tribes turned to the earth itself for warmth. In the Viking Age, families would place river stones into the heart of the fire, then carry them glowing and hissing beneath beds of straw. Among native peoples of the plains, heated stones were set under hides to drive the frost from the ground. Women often prepared and rotated these stones, ensuring that the family had warmth through the long night. The science behind it is simple yet powerful. Stone holds heat. With its high thermal mass, it absorbs the fire's energy and releases it slowly, hour after hour. Unlike a burning log, a stone doesn't vanish into ash. It stays radiating life into the cold void. In modern survival, the method remains field-tested. Bricks fire-safe containers, or even the so-called Nalgene hot rock hack, can replace medieval stones. It is an ancient technique adapted for bushcraft, and still every bit as practical. But heed the checklist. Never use wet or river-soaked stones. They can explode when heated. Always wrap the stone in cloth or leather before placing it near your bedding. And keep a safe distance from bare skin to avoid burns. Remember this, a single fire may die before dawn, but a stone charged with heat can carry you through the night. Have you ever tried sleeping with hot stones beneath your blanket in winter? Share your story so that this old knowledge does not fade. Hack number 5. Reflective shield, sometimes called the medieval fire reflector. Picture this, a knight on campaign or a Sami hunter in the northern wilds. The fire burns, small fuel is scarce, so they drive stakes into the frozen ground, stretch hides or wooden planks upright behind the fire. What happens? The flames send not only light, but waves of radiant heat. And instead of drifting into the cold night, that energy is reflected back straight into their bodies. Most people don't realize this, but infrared radiation is like a mirror image. With a reflector wall, you nearly double the efficiency of a single fire. That could mean the difference between shivering all night or actually sleeping warm. Modern survivalists still use this ancient technique. Mylar tarps, foil blankets, even reflective liners in survival tents serve the same principle. Lightweight, field-tested, and just as effective. But remember the checklist. Always place the shield directly opposite your fire, angled toward your shelter. Keep enough distance so the wall doesn't catch flame. And never overbuild. The goal is to reflect, not to create a bonfire trap. This is one of those ancient but practical survival hacks, simple, effective, and tested across centuries. Now I ask you, have you ever sat by a fire with a reflector wall at your back? Did it change the night from bitter cold to bearable? Share your story below. Let's make sure these old secrets stay alive. Hack number 4. Oil and tallow lamps. Centuries ago in the far north, the Sami and the Norse had to find light and warmth in a world of endless winter nights. They turned to what nature offered: fish oil, reindeer fat, or tallow, carefully rendered down. Women often prepared and tended these lamps, keeping both light and heat alive in the longhouse or tent. Most people today don't realize this. These lamps didn't just give a faint glow. They produced a steady, smokeless heat source that could mean survival through the coldest months. The science is simple. Animal fat is dense energy. When burned through a proper wick, it releases a slow, consistent flame. Unlike open fires that waste heat, a tallow lamp concentrates warmth and light in one place, efficient and reliable. Modern survivalists still use this principle. Biofuel lamps, or even the simple candle heater hack with clay pots, are direct descendants of those medieval methods. The materials have changed, but the physics and the survival value remain the same. But here's the checklist. Always use the right wick long enough to draw, but not so long that it smokes. Never overfill, or you risk dangerous spills. And remember, ventilation is essential. Even the cleanest burning lamp consumes oxygen and produces gases. This is one of those ancient but practical survival hacks proven by centuries of field use. Now let me ask you, have you ever tried a fat lamp or improvised heat from a simple candle system? Share your story in the comments. These are the sparks of knowledge we must carry forward. Hack number 3. Hot water bags and bladders. In the medieval world, survival meant using every part of the animal. Hunters and farmers in Scandinavia, and even among nomadic tribes, would take the bladder of a reindeer or cow, fill it with boiling water, and slip it under straw bedding. What most people don't realize is those simple bladders were like small thermal batteries storing heat for 6 to 8 hours, enough to carry a family through the coldest part of the night. The principle is pure physics. Water has a high specific heat capacity, which means it can absorb and release large amounts of energy slowly. In a world without steel kettles or hot water bottles, the animal bladder was a field-tested survival tool, ingenious, practical, and born of necessity. Modern survivalists have their own version. A Nalgene bottle filled with boiling water, sealed tight, slipped into a wool sock or fabric pouch. It works the same way. Bushcrafters still call this one of the most reliable cold night hacks, especially inside a tent or sleeping bag. But here's the checklist. Always inspect your container for leaks. Nothing ruins a winter night faster than wet straw or soaked clothing. And never place hot water against bare skin. Wrap it in cloth, leather, or even wool to prevent burns and slow down heat loss. This is one of those ancient techniques that feels almost too simple, yet it works every time. Now tell me, Have you ever tried the hot water bottle trick in the field? Did it keep you alive through the night? Share your experience below. Together, we'll keep these survival secrets burning for the next generation. Hack number 2. Communal sleeping and rotation fires. In medieval Scandinavia, the longhouse was more than shelter. It was survival. Families, servants, and even livestock all shared the same smoky hall. At the center burned a single fire tended through the night. Few people today realize this ancient secret. The combined warmth of many bodies, along with a fire watched in shifts, could keep dozens alive through brutal northern winters. The principle is simple but powerful. Body heat doesn't just disappear, it accumulates. A dozen people sleeping close together radiate the warmth of a small furnace. Add livestock, and you multiply that effect. Meanwhile, a fire doesn't need to burn all night. With rotation, a few wakeful hands feed it, while others rest, conserving fuel and extending survival. Modern survival groups still use this field-tested method. Inside a military tent or a snow shelter, groups sleep shoulder to shoulder. A duty roster ensures someone is always awake, stoking the stove or watching the fire. It is a tactic as old as humanity itself, and still one of the most effective. Checklist. Always set a fair watch schedule. Fatigue kills discipline faster than cold. Maintain a clear escape path in case sparks or embers ignite the shelter. Remember, too much crowding without ventilation invites suffocation. Balance heat with air. This hack is ancient but practical. It reminds us that survival is not just about tools, but about community. Now I'll ask you, have you ever shared a tent or cabin in freezing weather, relying on each other's warmth? Did it work as well as the old longhouses? Share your story below. Together we carry these lessons forward. Number 1. The thermal mass stove, known in medieval Europe as the masonry heater. While Western Europe relied heavily on open fires, Eastern Europe and Russia developed something far more advanced. By the 15th century, entire villages were building massive stoves of stone and brick, often called pechka in Russia or Kachelofen in Germany. These weren't just fireplaces. They were engines of survival. Families would burn small bundles of wood, quickly heating the thick masonry core. That stone mass would then radiate steady warmth for 12 to 24 hours long after the last flame died. In some accounts, villagers even slept on top of these stoves, the warm bricks acting like a giant bed of coals sealed in stone. The principle is physics at its finest. A short hot burn drives heat deep into the masonry. The dense brick absorbs it, then slowly releases it back into the room as infrared heat. No wasted smoke, no constant stoking, just one fire powering an entire night of warmth. Modern survivalists can adapt this with the rocket mass heater. Instead of massive stone, we use cob clay and barrels to trap and radiate heat. Field tests show a well-built rocket mass heater can cut wood use by 70% while keeping a shelter warm all night. But here are the rules. 1. Burn small dry wood. Quickly, don't feed the fire continuously or you lose efficiency. 2. Build your thermal mass thick enough. Without enough masonry, the heat escapes too fast. 3. Always vent properly. Even the most efficient stove needs safe airflow. Your checklist. Use small dry wood for short burns. Build a thick masonry core to hold heat. Vent safely to avoid smoke buildup. This is the pinnacle of medieval heating, an ancient engineering marvel still unmatched for off-grid survival. Now tell me, have you ever built or seen a masonry or rocket mass heater in action? Did it change how you think about fire? Share your story. Join the circle. We have walked through 7 heating hacks that stood the test of centuries. Let's recap them as your checklist. Animal body heat, the living furnace. Heated stones, bedrock warmers beneath the straw. Reflective shields doubling the fire's gift. Oil and tallow lamps, steady flames from fat and fish oil. Hot water bladders, the medieval hot water bottle. Communal sleeping with rotation fires, the strength of the longhouse. And the masonry heater, the pinnacle of thermal mass engineering. Each of these methods is ancient, Each of them is field tested, and each can still save lives today. Now the question turns to you. Have you tried any of these hacks in your winters, or does your family still hold a medieval secret for warmth that few outsiders know? Share it here so that together we keep the fire of knowledge alive for the next generation. Because in the end, the crackling flame does more than warm the body. It warms the legacy of our ancestors.